Speaking of upgrades, Europe needs to upgrade its migration policy. The current one is disastrous. Migrant boats are sinking almost every week. Hundreds of children are dying at sea. And what does Europe do? Condole and move on. Last week, there was a major accident. Migrants had boarded a ship from Tunisia to Italy. Somewhere along the journey, the boat capsized. At least 41 people died. 3 of them were children. Another accident happened in the English Channel. 6 migrants died after their boat sank. But the worst was in late June. A migrant boat sank off the coast of Greece. 750 people were on board. Only 100 of them survived. What about the rest? Presumed dead. Their bodies are yet to be recovered from the Mediterranean Sea. The problem is not a new one. Migrant boats have always capsized in this region. But this year, the numbers are up. More than 1,800 migrant deaths have been reported so far. This is higher than the last 5 years. In 2018, there were 1,300 deaths. By 2020, it fell to 1,000. But now in 2023, migrants are moving again. Where do they come from? A lot of places. Pakistan, Syria, Libya, Tunisia, Afghanistan, Morocco. They set off from North Africa, mostly from Tunisia and Libya. But their boats are not fit for the journey. We're talking about rubber rafts and fishing vessels, and that too overcrowded ones. They have little chance of completing the journey, hence all the accidents. But a couple of questions still remain. Number one, what explains the uptick in migrants? And number two, what is Europe doing to stop this? Let's answer the first question first. Most of these migrants are fleeing poverty, not persecution. Food prices are at a record high. Jobs are disappearing fast. So staying back is not an option. Just look at South Africa. It is considered among the biggest African economies. But South Africa's unemployment rate is 33%. 1 in 3 people don't have jobs. To solve these problems, you need a stable and reliant government, but again, no luck. Africa's coup belt is active again. The latest was in Niger. So people have lost faith in their countries and their governments, and they have made a drastic choice, either Europe or death. Which brings us to question number 2. What is Europe doing about all of this? And let's be clear about one thing. These migrants are not refugees. Europe is not legally obligated to take them. It's the government's choice to welcome migrants or not. But how they do it, how they make that choice, is important. In 2015, the European Union was proactive. They tripled their migrant rescue budget. More money, more ships, more surveillance. The idea was to save the people first and then decide what to do with them. Now it's the opposite. Europe's rescue teams are grossly underfunded. They don't have enough assets either. So when accidents happen, there are delays. Some countries like Italy have gone a step ahead. They're cracking down on rescue ships. Elsewhere, they have money to spare. The coast guards of Libya and Tunisia are funded by Europe. In June, European leaders traveled to Tunisia. They struck a deal there. Tunisia gets $1 billion in aid. In return, they stop migrants from leaving their shores. A quick side note, Libya and Tunisia are notorious for abusing migrants. There are reports of torture, sexual violence and extortion, and Europe knows all of this. Yet they fund both Libya and Tunisia. The problem here is lack of empathy. European leaders have turned migration into a political weapon. Case in point, Poland. Their government has announced a referendum. It will be held on the 15th of October. The question for voters is this: do you support the admission of thousands of illegal immigrants from the Middle East and Africa? Basically, it's a vote on Europe's migrant policy. Polish voters can accept or reject it. And what exactly is the policy? The EU agreed that all members should share responsibility for migrants. Even if they land in Italy, every member would host them. If not host, at least pay for them. Poland and Hungary don't want to do either. Fun fact, this is the same Poland that hosted 1 million Ukrainian refugees. I guess that was not a burden. And no one is asking Europe to resettle all these people, but give them a fair chance. You can't fund abusive regimes to do your dirty work. You can't look the other way when migrants drown in your backyard. Unfortunately, that's what Europe is doing.